What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I hope you like this video. So this is Making the Cut, season 1, episode 10. We are at the grand finale. Remember, they left us hanging. Even though they technically didn't leave us hanging, they gave us both episodes at the same time. I just didn't watch the second episode because I kind of wanted to just leave myself in suspense for a minute. So anyway, we're down to the final 3. We have Sandra, we have Johnny, and we have Esther. And they had their pop-up shop. So we are now seeing the judges sort of get together. They're going to speak on it. They're going to talk about the pop-up shop, what they liked, what they didn't like. And Sandra, overall, I think they were happy with all 3 pop-up shops, right? It came down to the little minute details. They liked the fact that Sandra had the tailor on site. They liked the fact that Esther they liked the ropes, which I didn't like the ropes. I thought that made it too cluttered, but whatever. But they did like the ropes with Esther. With Johnny, they felt like his pop-up shop was just really, really true to who he was and the brand he was trying to build. Ultimately, though, they said we do have to eliminate somebody, and they eliminated Sandra, and that's who I expected to get eliminated, honestly. His pop-up shop just did not match up to the other 2 as far as the thought process, the total. Again, keeping in mind, this is not Project Runway. We are building a brand. We are building a global brand. And Sandra just wasn't giving us that. And even when they asked him questions about it, his answer was, well, that we have time to do that stuff later on, purses and jewelry, and we have time to do that later on. But again, you know, the difference between a designer and a brand, like, and that's no disrespect. Sorry. And it's no disrespect to a designer, but again, when you have a brand, like I said before, when you think of a Ralph Lauren, a Michael Kors, a Versace, whatever, you can buy everything. They sell everything. And Sandra just didn't give us that. And I don't think what he did have, it was enough of a variety either. And personally, honestly, my personal style, I just wasn't crazy about some of Sandra's stuff that he had up there. Then we had... like I said, Esther and Johnny were very, very similar in style. But it actually came down to, I think, it came down to marketability and what they could actually sell. And again, a global brand. And let me say this to you guys. Out of all of the judges, I think the judge that gave it to Esther straight with no chaser, she pulled the rip, she ripped that Band-Aid right off. And she said to Esther, she said, listen, I can respect you being... true to your brand and being true to who you are. She said, but the integrity is not, it's not, shoot, now I messed it up. But basically she was saying, staying true to your brand is not, that's not realistic. That's what it wasn't realistic. At the end of the day, to be a global brand, you cannot build a global brand off a gimmick. And for as much as she wants to say that she's just true to who she is and black, it's a fucking gimmick. Sorry, I didn't mean to curse. But it's a gimmick. You know, and we've seen this before. We've seen stores that have gimmicks and they don't last. We've seen brands that have gimmicks. You saying I'm going to make everything in black is a gimmick. It is not realistic. It is not something that is going to garner people to stay loyal to you as a brand. They may come to you to pick up some pieces, but the average person just don't wear black all day every day. Not the average person. You know, that's just like Lisa Ray wearing white all the time. If y'all notice, she's starting to wear other stuff now. It's just not realistic. Every day, all day, crazy. Anyway, so, but mind you, Lisa Ray's a person, not a brand, not somebody trying to sell you something. So, okay. Although I do think she does have jeans. Don't she sell jeans? Anyway, back on task. So Sandra was eliminated, but Johnny was the winner. So then their task was they had to create a business plan, and they had to actually pitch their business plan to the head of Amazon. Well, not the actual head of the company, but the head of that division. Which I thought, again, was very realistic. If you are out here trying to build a brand, you're going to have to be able to explain your brand and sell your brand. You're going to have to walk into a room with investors and say, listen, this is why you need to give me your money. This is what I'm going to do with your money, and this is why you will get an investment on your money. Again, Amazon has invested $1 million. into whoever this brand is. And so they had to put together their pitch. And what I found interesting was I thought Johnny would knock it out the box, and I thought Esther was the one that would stumble. But the one thing about Esther, even though I don't always agree with Esther's decisions, the one thing I will say is that Esther has been able to remain cool under pressure throughout this whole process. Okay? And her pitch was great. I mean, she had flow charts and all kinds, and she actually explained, I'm building a house, and these are the elements of my house that is going to get me where I'm trying to get to, and this is what I'm going to do with your money, and this is how your money is going to help my house build, and this is how I'm going to, like, all of that. Now, once again, the investor, though, asked her the question about black, and she sort of fumbled through her answer, and she would not give a definitive answer. She would not give a definitive answer and say, I will incorporate color. She talked around it. She talked through it. She talked to the left of it. She talked to the right of it. But she did not give a definitive answer about whether she was going to incorporate color. And she did, she gave a half-assed answer. But again, if I'm an investor and I'm listening, I heard you talk through that shit. I heard how you talked around it. I heard how you sprinkled in some keywords to make me sound like, well, if I have to, I'm open to it. If I tell you to do this shirt in pink, are you going to do this shirt in pink? Johnny, on the other hand, he came through, he had a whole PowerPoint, but he wrote notes, and he made the mistake that a lot of us make, myself included. You become a slave to those notes. You know what you want to say. You wrote the damn notes. But you become a slave to the notes. Honestly, and I know I fuck it up sometimes, because I know y'all going to tell me in the comment section how much I mess up. I know I do. But I used to write all of these notes when I would watch a show. I would write all these notes down. And then I would get to the end, and I became a slave to the notes instead of just going with the flow of how I felt when I watched the show. So yeah, sometimes I mess up people's names. A lot of times I mess up people's names. And sometimes I do forget to say something I wanted to say. But I love just being able to just flow. And that's what Johnny did. He became a slave to those notes, and he stumbled a lot, and he had to keep looking down at his notes rather than just talking directly to. And I think at a certain point he sort of got away from the notes, but it took a while to get there. I also don't think he was as clear in explaining his vision. Like, he knew it. But because I think he was so focused on his notes, I don't think he did a good job of being as clear and precise in explaining it to the investor. So that was my synopsis of that. So then it was time for the fashion show. We have our final fashion show. They were able to pull looks. And of course, they didn't have all of their looks in the pop-up shop, so that some of the looks were new. Johnny did something that was very smart, though. A couple of the looks that he wasn't going to put in the fashion show, but were the top. Oh, he also had the top-selling item, the asymmetrical dress, which you can go buy on Amazon now. And he was the winner. I think I said that. Of the first challenge. of the pop-up shop challenge. Okay. So, he actually pulled some of the looks that were top sellers in the pop-up shop and put them in the fashion show, whereas before they weren't in, he hadn't originally planned to show those items. So he's doing the fashion show. So they're getting ready. And the thing that I loved, and Esther did it, and so did John. And throughout the competition, most of them did this. The only person that I heard do this without, like, Megan did it, but Megan did it when she kind of had to, she pit her, when her and Johnny were pitted against each other and they were trying to get the win. The only person that I heard say negative stuff and put another designer down was her. Not Yamin. What's her name, Yamin? I feel like that's not right. I feel like Yamin not right. Anyway, but Johnny and Esther both said really nice things about each other's. They said that they think they should be the winner, and they said that they think that their collection was, but Johnny's thing was, listen, I feel like Esther's been my competition this whole time, and I couldn't be in better company. Esther said she definitely knew that Johnny was competition. Now I think Esther thought she was gonna win, though. I think she thought she had the winning team, whatever. But they didn't put each other down. And I could appreciate that. And I think that they genuinely built a genuine rapport with each other. So they had the runway, the final fashion show. All the judges are there. And Esther's collection was nice. But what was the criticism from all of the judges about Esther's collection? No color. Now, I could tell where Heidi stood. It was very clear that Heidi was leaning towards Esther, that Esther was Heidi's pick. It was very clear. You could tell by the way she spoke about Esther's runway show and what she said about Johnny's runway show. In my opinion. But I could also tell that Nicole, although she liked Esther, Nicole had a big problem with the no color. She had a big problem with the fact that Esther refused to use color. The little bit of color that Esther did use was some white leggings, which were cute. Those little leggings were cute. And of course, she had that black and white coat. And I think she had like one other item that had some white in it. But even then, you gave me no color. You could have gave me a splash of fuchsia, a splash of pink, nothing. And I've had a problem with that. And the whole time I was looking at it, all I kept saying to myself was, if they give this win to Esther, they're going to totally contradict the whole premise of this show, in my opinion. Because the premise of this show was to build a global brand. And you can't build a global brand off of a one color gimmick. That's all I kept thinking. All I kept thinking throughout the final few minutes of this episode, I was like, I'm going to be real. I was like, so Johnny came through. The first half of Johnny's fashion show, everybody loved it. They loved it. Then his styling started being off. And I agreed. I didn't understand some of the styling of the last half of his collection. He had this whole rubber glove thing. Now, what's very interesting is it's kind of apropos for where we are right now as a society with wearing gloves out in public, wearing the mask out in public. If you've been following Christian Siriano, not only has he been making masks that he's been donating to hospitals and to facilities that need the mask. He's been making, but he's also been creative and being very creative in creating mask looks that I'm sure we're going to see at the next Met Gala. We're going to see on the runway at the Oscars. Like it, and it's been very creative. So you definitely, it's sort of apropos for where we are now. But in that moment, at that time, why you got your models walking down the runway with kitchen gloves on that you wash your dishes with? I didn't understand it either, Heidi. But once he did that, Heidi jumped on it. And she used that as her excuse or her reason why she wasn't feeling the rest of his whole collection. And Naomi was like, okay, but listen, people ain't going to see all of that. When it's time to sell these pieces online, ain't nobody going to see rubber gloves and stuff. His pieces can be sold individually and make a lot of money. And I was like, exactly. Now, I wasn't understanding that part, but the first half of the show, everybody was loving his styling. So we get to the back. They talked to the lady from Amazon, and the lady from Amazon said what I just said as far as the feeling she got from the different people from their presentations. Then the designers got to talking, and honey, Naomi seemed like she was team Johnny, right? And she was talking over Heidi, and they were kind of getting a little heated. So then they said, look, let's bring the designers in. So they gave a final talking to the designers and gave them a final opportunity to sell their brand and sell their pitch. And Naomi asked Esther point blank. She said, listen, point blank, if I, as an investor, ask you to create a collection in color, will you do it? And once again, I feel like Esther talked around it. I don't feel like she gave it, because see, to me, that's a yes or no answer. That's yes or no. If I ask you to make this in purple, you're going to make it in purple. That's a yes or no. But she kept blah, 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 blah. And ultimately, she said, well, she would do it in future collections, but she didn't feel like it would be authentic in this collection, that it wouldn't feel true to what she did with this collection. But for future collections, she's definitely open to the idea. That is not a definitive yes to me. That is I'm open to the idea. That's put your resume on the counter and I'll look over it type of thing. That is not a definitive, yes, you have the job. I don't know. Anyway, but I feel like that answer was good enough for Naomi. I don't know. It wasn't good enough for me. So then they got to the end and they went down the list. And they said, first they said, who did they start with? I think they probably started with Naomi. They said, Naomi, did you change your mind? Naomi said, yeah, I did. Actually, I did change my mind. And I think Esther should be the winner, which means that she was Team Johnny. And I feel like that little bullshit answer that Esther gave her about the color changed her mind. But I feel like that was a bullshit answer. But okay. So anyway, I feel like that she won. I mean, that changed her mind. Then they went to Heidi. Heidi said she felt like Esther should win. So of course they were being real dramatic and they were taking 5 minutes in between each person. Then it went to what was her name? Carrie, the global influencer, the fashion influencer, and she said that she felt, so we had 2 for Johnny. Yeah, she said that she felt like Esther should win. So then it went to the guy judge, and he said he felt that, I'm sorry, let me rewind. Naomi was Esther, Heidi was Esther, the global influencer was Johnny, the guy judge was Johnny. So the tiebreaker was Nicole, and I knew then. I already knew who Nicole wanted to win. I said, now, they said, well, Nicole, have you changed your mind? And when she said no, she hasn't changed her mind, then I knew. I said, oh, Johnny just won this. And she said, I think Johnny should be the winner. So Johnny won. And let me tell y'all something. That's who was supposed to win. Because if they had let Esther win, then to me, it would have totally contradicted everything that they said they wanted this competition to be, because that is not a global brand. I don't care how talented she is. I don't care how great of a dressmaker she is, how great of a businesswoman she is. You're not creating a global brand in one color. That's just my opinion. Let me know what y'all think. Drop it in the comments. Peace.